I'm a research professor who detects, isolates, and performs genetic analysis of respiratory viruses, including coronaviruses and animal and human influenza viruses, as well as arboviruses. Ask me anything. How can you distinguish between symptoms of coronavirus versus symptoms of influenza? To start, there are many different types of influenza viruses and the symptoms can vary depending on the virus and how healthy the person is. Therefore, it's not really possible to distinguish coronavirus from influenza virus symptoms in many cases, if at all. What's exceptionally important is to confirm through laboratory tests. The symptoms of coronavirus infections also differ according to age and overall health. How useful are the average available masks that the general population can get in pharmacies or hardware shops against infectious diseases? Great question. There are many different products on the market, some better than others. The best choice would be an N95 face mask, but the mask should be one that fits properly. If you can get a fit test for an N95 mask, that would be great. Also important are proper on and off of the mask. Some people put themselves at risk when they remove a mask, for example, by sticking ungloved fingers at the bridge of their nose and pushing those fingers downwards as they remove their mask, and that places potentially contaminated fingers close to the nose. This creates a situation where one could deposit fomites or other virus contaminated particles close to the nose, and these might be inhaled. Stay away from flimsy face masks, especially those that look like a gauze or net, as they will not be protective. The better face masks, even if they are not N95 masks, will offer some protection from contaminated droplets. But don't forget, consider wearing goggles also. Many respiratory viruses can infect you through contact with the surfaces of your eyes. Many media outlets are comparing the nCoV, coronavirus, to SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. How genetically related are these two viruses? Is it erroneous to compare the two epidemics? Many people are scrambling to provide an answer about how closely related the viruses are. An early study indicated about 70%, but that may be at the genetic level. Some media sources in Germany are arguing that it is foolish to worry about the coronavirus because flu is just as infectious and has similar levels of lethality, but we don't worry about flu. I assume this line of reasoning is flawed, but could you debunk it? It is not foolish to worry about the new coronavirus, in that we don't really know what the outcome will be regarding how the virus spreads worldwide and whether a pandemic will occur. But influenza viruses affect people every year, and depending on the year, 50,000 or more people die in the US due to influenza virus infections. And note that Ebola is a deadly disease, but in the US, we don't worry about it, because the virus that causes the disease has not become established here. The issue regarding not to worry boils down to fear of the unknown. What can be done to protect from coronavirus exposure? Are good hand washing techniques enough? Or do we need to invest in masks to be ready? Also, what's the real lethality rate for it? Best approach is to use well-established infection control practices. First and foremost, avoid being around people who have respiratory infections. Hand washing is important, but it should be done properly, running water for 20 seconds, soaping between fingers and the back of the hand, etc. This is because we can pick up viruses from contaminated surfaces and inoculate ourselves by touching our nose, eyes, perhaps our mouth. Coronaviruses can be spread through airborne routes. They can be present in large droplets that are formed when we cough, sneeze, talk, but they can also be associated with smaller particles that can stay airborne and thus inhaled. Coronaviruses can stay viable infectious on some environmental surfaces for up to a week, so hygiene is important as we can contact contaminated material in public places, especially if they are high-touch surfaces such as doorknobs. Hi John. Does airline travel really exponentially increase your chances of coming into contact with the virus? And if so, what precautions should someone take if they are about to be going on a flight? Good question. Depends on where you're going. About the only thing you can do is make sure you're not touching a lot of things and touching your facial area. A mask and possibly goggles could help too. My question is, how exactly does the virus lead to deadly symptoms of pneumonia, etc.? Exactly? We need more information. But basically, if the virus is truly similar to SARS-CoV, what we know is this: the virus targets epithelial cells of the respiratory tract when it first causes an infection. Other organ systems are affected subsequently. Is it true that once signs and symptoms occur, you are no longer contagious? No, you remain contagious. And though this depends on the type of coronavirus, people with coronavirus infections can excrete infectious virus for weeks after the symptoms subside, not necessarily through coughing or sneezing, but in their urine and stools. SARS blowover. This one doesn't have me worried. How will we know when it's time to actually take it seriously and get scared? One has to stay tuned to current developments. The CDC and WHO post information daily, and if you are in the USA, refer to the CDC posts. Internationally, the situation differs depending on where you are. We should always respect the situation by taking it seriously, but not to panic. Statistically speaking, just a guess would be fine. If a healthy adult got the virus, what are the odds of pneumonia and death? How about for a child/senior? Clarification: asking about the current coronavirus. Not a simple question. Depends on many variables. With SARS and mrzCoVs, for example, most of those severely impacted or dead had/have underlying health issues, such as diabetes, etc. They tend to be people older than about 50 years of age. For the new virus, more information is needed. My understanding is that most of those that have died of the new coronavirus are also people in the older age group, 50 and above, with underlying health conditions. There are already talks of producing a vaccine. How soon could we reasonably expect to see one? There are many different approaches to making a vaccine. Success depends on good science, luck, and having enough funds to produce the vaccine, show it is safe, and prove it works. How long will that take? Hard to say. How does the coronavirus compare to ones like H1N1? It's totally different virus, like cat versus dog, but both cause respiratory illness. What is the current priority, a vaccine or a cure? Both are priorities. There are many antiviral agents that are being tested. Scientists are now scrambling to produce both. So how at risk are we from catching this corona bullshit from simply ordering things from China? Memes got me paranoid lol. Probably nothing to worry about. But in biology, exceptions to the rule are common. For example, I would not be overly concerned about electronic gadgets from China. However, if someone were to tell me they had fresh frozen bat or civet cat meat from Wuhan, and that they would prepare and cook that for me, that might raise some level of concern. Got it? No crispy bat for me this week. If you liked this video, don't forget to smash the like button. For more hits and giggles, subscribe.